Hey guys, Steeble here. Today we'll be kicking off a week of Destroyer coverage with the Kagero. To knock on the screen here, you can see I got the new Atago Commander as the second inspiration. That lowers the range of the detection of the torps, which makes it harder for them to dodge. On this particular ship, it actually shaves about a full second of time that those torps will be on the enemy screen, but that's going to be varying ship to ship and build to build. A little bit of a housekeeping note before we get going. A lot of you guys are giving me feedback saying the notifications or the usual ways that you're noticing the streams aren't showing up. I'm going to be investigating that from my end, but I think YouTube periodically has trouble with notifications. So as a workaround until it gets fixed, I'll be trying to post on Twitter and Discord announcements. So the links to those are in the description of this video and all the videos if you want to join those, and I'll be sending out those notifications ahead of time and keep you guys updated. So here we're on Land of Fire. We got a domination mode game. We are on the eastern flank here. 2 destroyers per side, so it's a pretty decent chance that we have a destroyer that'll appear over here. Our primary goal is to spot these targets. You can see we do have a cruiser that's posting up behind that island to the south, so he's definitely going to need someone to spot for him. And then we're going to have a battleship that's going to kind of roam behind those islands to the far east. So getting the spotting for both of these ships is great as long as they start shooting at them, which they will do here in a minute. But unfortunately, this game does not provide medals for spotting. You get XP, you get credits every time someone on your team shoots a target that you are spotting, that if you were not spotting them, they would not be visible on the screen. So in other words, spotting targets and having your team deal damage to those targets, not only is it going to help you win the game, which should be your main goal, hopefully, but you're also going to be increasing your score at the end of the game. I've seen games, I've actually played games as well, but I've seen games from other people where they deliberately did 0 damage and racked up huge scores at the end just by spotting people. So very important role. I would say spotting is by far the most important role for destroyers. If you're not spotting, if you're hiding behind islands or doing whatever, you are doing yourself and your team a massive disservice. So that needs to be your front and center goal. Here we have just slightly better detection than that Kagero. Now, you'll see on the consumables in the bottom, we have the reload booster, not the smoke. So I need to be a little bit careful here. I think I think we have the Soviet cruiser behind us. I think he's radaring this Kagero, is what I assume is going on. And I'm tempted here to shoot, but unfortunately if I shoot, I have no smoke, so I can't disengage. He's got 2 support ships that are very close to him, so that'd be a high-risk play for me. And unfortunately, even though the Kagero's getting low, it's not worth me killing myself just to do a little bit of damage here. Now the Gnaizno, Jean Bart, they both see torps go by at this point. And the reload booster, to use it at maximum efficiency, you want to launch torps and then use the booster. But don't worry about maximum efficiency with that type of consumable. Here we have potential kill shots. I'm really trying to get this Jean Bart, but the Gnaizno is traveling in a similar trajectory, and we could potentially hit one, if not both of these targets pretty hard. So in a perfect world, yes, you'd want to launch, boost, and then launch again. But if you have opportunities develop in the course of a play, in my mind, it's worth just popping that booster if you think you're going to have a nice, juicy broadside shot like we have here. As to whether I like the reload booster over the smoke, I'm still undecided on that. I've actually only played a couple of 2-3 games with the booster on there. But it's one of those tools that if you can get it to work, it's very helpful. But if you use it and it doesn't pay off, then you're kind of out of luck. So, but keep in mind, like if you're going against Nasashio, that's kind of the built-in thing about that most players that know anything about the Nasashio understand. There's a reload boost, and there could be multiple waves coming here. I personally haven't mentally integrated the fact that Kageros can launch double salvos at me when I'm playing, although That's one of my goals by playing the ship a little bit, to get that in my mind. But a lot of players aren't going to really remember that. So like these guys, they saw the first salvo torps, then they thought, okay, we got time to get out of here, get through this gap, and then we were able to hit another salvo there. And that one, you can see, I was not as worried about shooting on the indicator. I was really trying to hit that first salvo, so just barely did not hit that island sticking up, and then we hit the next salvo covering next to that. So we were trying to create a big spread, but I was trying to get it as far to the left there. And we don't need to always be worried about the indicator. We need to be putting ourselves in the minds of the ships that we're shooting at, or reading the terrain and seeing what are they likely to do. And in that particular salvo, maximizing how far we could get it to the left because he was accelerating. That was the prime consideration there. Here we briefly outspot the Kagero. Again, we have just slightly better detection on our build than he does there, and he's low enough that we're going to be able to whittle him down. So we effectively clear out this entire side, and that's huge. It's going to give us a chance to pause, capture C, and then begin enveloping the rest of the team by pushing the flank forward and then allowing for crossfire opportunities for my bigger ships and me for good scouting and cross-torp opportunities as well. You know, one of my biggest pet peeves with destroyer play that I see on my team is really, especially Japanese destroyers, who they think, okay, I'm the ultimate torp boat. All I need to do is get behind the enemy lines and then nuke battleships that are sitting in the back. That's your least useful role in the entirety of the game. Usually when you're trying to do that, you're throwing the game, and you're going to lose a lot of games by doing that. Here we got a situation where now there's only backline battleships alive, but we're still capturing the base, and we cleared out our entirety of our side. We're not trying to sneak through a little gap in the defenses and then swirl around the back line nuking battleships. In my mind, that's completely a waste of a valuable resource, which is the destroyer. Spotting, capturing the base, area denial, so on and so forth. I mean, there's so many different roles that the destroyers can play, and singularly focusing on backline battleships, who usually are, the further back they are and the more they're buffing their DUIs, the less valuable they actually are to their team. So trying to conceive of a plan to get back there and take out their worst players is usually making you your team's worst player, at least in that instance. So my recommendation, get rid of the singular mentality of I gotta torp all these battleships and start focusing on the rest of the destroyer's roles, I guess is what I'm trying to say. It's also really important to try and stay alive for the entirety of the match in the destroyer, or get at least as deep as you possibly can. Now you can say the same thing for all ships, but the destroyers become more and more important as the game goes on, especially if your team still has destroyers and the enemy doesn't. Then you have a massive advantage when it comes to spotting, so on and so forth. You can just kind of get in a situation where you can spot the enemy target permanently. That's when your cruisers and potentially even battleships are going to be able to utilize that island cover and just pummel the enemy team. And in those instances, there's really not a lot they can do about it. So it's very tempting, and it's kind of a mistake I make a lot of times too, to rush in, contest cap early, get into a nice dogfight, and then say to yourself, I'm a pretty good shot, I should be able to kill this guy. But whether that's true or not is kind of irrelevant. I mean, ideally, you'd like to spot the enemy destroyer for your teammates who are hopefully supporting you. The opening destroyer plays are usually decided by which teammates are actually supporting their destroyers and which ones are looking down the telescopic lens and shooting the battleships, which are the hardest to kill. For, typically these are cruisers that are making this mistake. So anyway, just try and conceive of the opening play as I'm going to do something with the massive intent of staying alive. You can see, if you go back to the opening play in this game, we were fully ready to bail out of C. I kind of got into the cap and then turned back around, pointed the other way, so that if I got spotted, especially not having the smoke, I can get out of there very quickly and then potentially do something, but live to fight another day. Now here we're close to a Kraken. We do got a King George, so I'm going in for a nuke shot. I only have 7.5k health here. This is a play you can get away with at like tier 3, tier 4 quite a bit. Watch the damage he does. He happens to have AP loaded here. If he had HE loaded here, this is 100% a kill shot. 100%. So you typically don't want to make that play at tier 7. And then unfortunately I launched both salvos at this guy, which is kind of an oversight on my part. We did have the other battleship back here, which I could have potentially, it wouldn't have been quick enough for a double strike, but we could have hit that guy with a point blank salvo, and then this guy looks like he's attempting to slow down, but we could have most likely gotten the kill on this guy as well. So a little bit overzealous with my torp launch there. That's alright though. I think this was a pretty good game. And you'll notice we get the Kraken, but there's no high caliber. There's no Confederate. So, I mean, the damage is fine. I'm not going to complain about 100k. But I kind of wanted to highlight this game mainly because you'll see the scores reflected more of the spotting that we're getting early on, capturing the base, and then, you know, just performing the ancillary roles, which maybe I should stop calling them ancillary because I think they're more important than torping. Destroyer players that focus only on torping are bad destroyer players. So let me just put it that way. I'll sum it up for you. Anyway, that's a look at the Kagero. Hope you guys did enjoy it. If you did, please hit the thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, you should consider subscribing. A lot of World of Warships coming all the time. Questions, comments, leave below. I do love to hear from you guys. And we'll see y'all later. All right, peace.